The iconic 1977 miniseries, Jesus of Nazareth, remains a timeless masterpiece, beloved by millions for its powerful storytelling and unforgettable performances. But behind the scenes, many of the talented actors who brought these biblical figures to life have sadly passed away over the years. In this video, we pay tribute to those incredible artists whose legacy continues to inspire us. Join us as we remember the lives and careers of the Jesus of Nazareth cast members who have tragically left us too soon. From beloved leads to memorable supporting roles, their contributions to this cinematic gem will never be forgotten. Anne Bancroft was born on September 17, 1931 in New York City and took on the iconic role of Mary Magdalene in Jesus of Nazareth 1977 at the age of 46, a role that showcased her profound ability to portray transformation and redemption with subtlety and emotional depth. Bancroft's Mary Magdalene was not the typical saintly figure often portrayed in biblical adaptations. Instead, she infused the character with layers of vulnerability, strength, and complexity, which made her performance resonate deeply with audiences worldwide. Her interpretation revealed a woman wrestling with her past sins and seeking spiritual renewal, a portrayal that challenged traditional views and invited viewers to empathize with a flawed but ultimately hopeful figure. Despite this acclaimed performance, Bancroft's career was marked by a persistent struggle to escape the shadow of her breakout role as Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate, 1967. She openly resented how that character, a symbol of seduction and scandal, pigeonholed her in Hollywood, overshadowing her more diverse and serious work on stage and screen. Born into a family with modest means and Italian heritage, Bancroft's early life was far from glamorous, marked by financial instability and a father who was absent for much of her childhood. This background fueled her fierce determination and intellectual rigor, but it also left her with deep insecurities she carefully concealed behind her poised exterior. Throughout her career, Bancroft was known for her exacting standards and occasionally icy demeanor on set, which some co-workers described as intimidating and difficult, a sharp contrast to her often gentle and introspective characters. She rarely indulged in Hollywood's excesses, maintaining a relatively private personal life. Though her marriage to comedian and director Mel Brooks was itself a union of two formidable, headstrong talents that sparked rumors of creative clashes and power struggles behind the scenes. Bancroft's health declined in her later years, and she succumbed to uterine cancer on June 6, 2005 at 73. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at around $20 million accumulated through decades of critically acclaimed film, theater, and television work, as well as savvy financial management. Valentina Cortesi, born January 1, 1923 in Milan, Italy, was 54 when she took on the role of Herodias in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, delivering a chilling portrayal of the scheming and self-absorbed wife of Herod Antipas. Her Herodias was an intoxicating mix of regal arrogance, manipulation, and theatrical flair, a woman whose ambitions and vanity set in motion tragic events. Cortesi's performance captivated audiences with its emotional intensity and dramatic precision, highlighting her ability to portray dark, morally ambiguous characters with a rare elegance. Her off-screen life was equally dramatic, marked by passionate and sometimes scandalous relationships that often made headlines in Italian and European cultural circles. Perhaps most notable was her long, tempestuous affair with famed conductor Victor de Sabata, a liaison that scandalized conservative Italy and cast a shadow over her public persona. Married to American actor Richard Basehart, their relationship was fraught with jealousy and rumors reflecting the instability and intensity that defined much of her personal life. Cortesi was also known for her artistic eccentricities, with reports of mood swings and manipulative behavior to maintain her status in an industry dominated by men. Though she managed to avoid the tabloid scandals common among her Hollywood contemporaries, insiders whispered about her ruthless ambition and emotional volatility, painting a portrait of a woman both revered and feared in the theatrical world. She continued working well into her later years, defying ageism, but never amassing great wealth. At her death on July 10, 2019, at age 96, her estate was valued at a modest $5 million, far less than many of her Hollywood peers. Yet her legacy as one of Italy's most captivating and powerful actresses endures, marked by a career that combined artistic brilliance with a life as tumultuous and enigmatic as the characters she portrayed. Ernest Borgnine, born January 24, 1917 in Hamden, Connecticut, embodied the Roman centurion in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, with a raw-grounded authenticity that reflected both his rugged persona and decades of experience playing tough working-class characters. At 60 years old during the film's release, Borgnine brought to the role a nuanced portrayal of a man caught between harsh duty and a dawning spiritual awareness, a complexity that subtly revealed the inner conflict beneath the stoic exterior. Off-screen, Borgnine's life was as colorful and unpredictable as many of his characters. His personal history was riddled with tumultuous relationships, including 5 marriages, most famously the lightning-fast union and split with Broadway legend Ethel Merman, which lasted mere weeks and became fodder for Hollywood gossip columns. Known for his candid, sometimes abrasive nature, Borgnine often clashed with directors and co-stars, earning a reputation as difficult but fiercely loyal to those he trusted. His well-documented struggles with alcohol and tobacco were both a personal crutch and a public spectacle. He humorously attributed his long life to these vices, a defiant stance that confounded health experts. Professionally, Borgnine faced significant setbacks, including a period in the late 1970s and early 1980s when his film career waned due to typecasting in a series of critically panned projects. This slump was a major blow to his reputation, threatening to end his career before a resurgence through television roles and voice acting revitalized his standing. Borgnine's later years were marred by health problems, culminating in his death from renal failure on July 8, 2012 in Los Angeles at age 95. At his passing, he left behind an estate valued at roughly $15 million, accumulated through a long and varied career that survived Hollywood's fickle tastes and his own volatile personal life. Despite his flaws and scandals, Borgnine remains an enduring figure whose offbeat charm and candidness earned him both admiration and notoriety, painting a portrait of a man who embraced life's messiness with unvarnished honesty. James Earl Jones, born January 17, 1931, rose from a difficult and racially charged childhood in Mississippi to become one of the most powerful and distinguished voices in American cinema, most memorably portraying Balthazar in Jesus of Nazareth at age 46. His embodiment of the wise man was steeped in solemnity and philosophical depth, imbuing the Magi with a profound spiritual weight that resonated deeply with audiences. Jones's signature commanding presence and sonorous voice became hallmarks of authority and gravitas, famously immortalized as the voice of Darth Vader and through countless celebrated theatrical performances. Yet beneath this poised exterior lay a history marked by personal struggle. From a young age, Jones was afflicted by a severe stutter which rendered him nearly mute for years, subjecting him to relentless bullying and social isolation. The racial discrimination of the Jim Crow South compounded his challenges, shaping a guarded personality fiercely determined to overcome. Theater became his refuge and weapon. He transformed his impediment into a powerful instrument, mastering voice and expression with a discipline few could rival. His ascent in Hollywood and Broadway was a testament to resilience, but his personal life bore its own complexities. His long marriage to actress Cecilia Hart was fraught with quiet tensions marked by periods of separation and the pressures inherent to balancing 2 demanding careers under public scrutiny. Despite his status, Jones was intensely private, a man who shielded his personal affairs from the media's prying eyes, maintaining a reputation unblemished by scandal. Financially, he accumulated an impressive fortune with an estimated net worth of $40 million earned through decades of diverse work and smart career choices, managing to avoid the substance abuse and public disgrace that derailed many peers. Still, the invisible scars from his youth, the stutter, the discrimination, the emotional isolation added profound layers beneath his stoic exterior, revealing a man shaped as much by pain as by triumph. Jones's death on September 9, 2024, at age 93, marked the end of an era. James Mason was born on May 15, 1909, in Huddersfield, England, and portrayed Joseph of Arimathea in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, at age 68. Mason's portrayal of Joseph, the wealthy man who offers his tomb for Jesus' burial, was infused with a quiet dignity that belied the stormy contradictions of his own life. Though admired for his velvety voice and brooding charisma, Mason's personal history reveals far darker undertones than his polished screen persona suggested. Raised in a strict, often cold family environment, Mason learned early to suppress emotional vulnerability, which later manifested as emotional aloofness that alienated even close colleagues. Behind the scenes, he gained a reputation as difficult and manipulative, known for pushing co-stars and directors to their limits. Though Mason avoided major public scandals, whispers of secret affairs and a sometimes ruthless ambition circulated in the industry. His conscientious objection during LoBiano shocked many, causing a rift with family members who considered his stance cowardly, yet it also revealed a complex moral code that he rarely shared publicly. Mason's 2 marriages ended quietly, but were marked by periods of estrangement and silent resentments, suggesting personal turmoil beneath his refined veneer. Professionally, his career experienced notable dips. After a golden age of leading roles, he struggled with typecasting and was sometimes bypassed for younger actors. His later years, including the time of Jesus of Nazareth, saw a steady decline in prominence overshadowed by younger talents. When Mason died on July 27, 1984, at 75 in Lausanne, Switzerland, from a sudden heart attack, he left behind an estate valued around 10 million, substantial but modest compared to contemporaries. His wealth derived largely from savvy investments and royalties from his extensive filmography, rather than flamboyant displays of luxury. His legacy remains complicated, a man admired for his artistry, but remembered also as a figure of contradictions, embodying the tensions between public admiration and private solitude. Donald Pleasance, born October 5, 1919 in Worksop, England, portrayed Melchior, one of the Magi, in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, at 58. Pleasance's distinctive, intense gaze and voice brought an eerie mysticism to Melchior, yet his off-screen life was marked by profound contradictions and dark episodes. A World War II POW survivor, his harrowing captivity deeply shaped his worldview and his approach to acting, often drawing on personal trauma to inhabit psychologically complex roles. Despite his success, over 250 film and television credits, Pleasance's career was marred by clashes with directors and a reputation for being difficult and rebellious on set. Behind the cool professionalism was a man grappling with inner demons. Rumors of heavy drinking and mood swings circulated, hinting at struggles with mental health that he kept largely private. His personal life was turbulent. He endured several strained relationships, including accusations of emotional distance and volatility that left him estranged from some family members. Yet he maintained a fiercely private existence, rarely granting interviews or public insight into his private battles. The pinnacle of his challenges came with heart complications that led to surgery in his later years. Pleasance died on February 1995 at 75 in Saint-Paul-de-Vence, France, due to complications from heart valve surgery. His net worth at death was estimated around 10 million, accumulated through decades of steady work rather than blockbuster stardom. His legacy endures through iconic roles and the respect of peers who admired his dedication, but the full story includes a man often misunderstood, struggling quietly beneath the intense gaze that mesmerized audiences worldwide. Laurence Olivier, born May 2, 1907 in Dorking, Surrey, England, brought to life Nicodemus in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, at the age of 70. Olivier's portrayal was layered with intellectual conflict and spiritual yearning, echoing the man's own complicated persona. Celebrated as a titan of 20th century theater and film, his career was marked by extraordinary highs and equally dramatic personal lows. Beneath his knighted and aristocratic image lay a tempestuous character, infamous for controlling behavior and ruthless ambition. Olivier's private life was a maelstrom. His marriage to Vivian Lee was legendary for passionate highs and bitter lows, plagued by mental illness, infidelities, and public humiliation. Colleagues often described him as domineering and exacting, with a temper that could derail productions. Scandals dogged him, including rumors of extramarital affairs and professional sabotage, fueling a reputation as both a genius and a tyrant. His demanding nature extended beyond work to his personal relationships, contributing to several estrangements from family and friends. In his later years, Olivier's health declined amid struggles with alcohol and depression, often isolating him socially. Despite being knighted and elevated to the House of Lords, his wealth, estimated at around $20 million, was partly eroded by costly divorces and lavish spending on art and properties. He died on July 11, 1989, in West Sussex at 82, officially from illness, but whispered stories suggest long-standing addiction problems contributed. His legacy looms large, immortalized in theater and film, yet shadowed by the demons that haunted both his stage and private life. The Laurence Olivier Awards in the National Theatre Auditorium, bearing his name, testify to his enduring influence, but few public accounts fully reveal the darker, conflicted man behind the legend. Anthony Quinn, born April 21, 1915 in Chihuahua, Mexico, was 62 when he undertook the role of Caiaphas in Jesus of Nazareth, channeling the high priest's fierce resolve and fraught inner conflict. Quinn's Caiaphas was more than a rigid enforcer of law. He was a man driven by fear, political pressure, and personal ambition, a portrayal that resonated deeply with audiences. Quinn's own life was a tempest of passionate highs and dramatic lows. The son of an immigrant father and a mother of Irish descent, he endured poverty and early hardship, which fueled his raw, earthy screen presence. His private life was notoriously tumultuous. 3 marriages and fathering 12 children, alongside numerous affairs, made him a tabloid staple. His relationships were often chaotic and ended in public disputes, including bitter custody battles that exposed his volatile temperament. Quinn's career, though studded with accolades including 2 Oscars, was peppered with setbacks. He was repeatedly described by colleagues as difficult and egotistical, with reports of heavy drinking and on-set outbursts. One of his darkest episodes was a highly publicized lawsuit alleging workplace harassment and verbal abuse during the filming of The Message 1976, which was settled quietly but stained his professional standing. Despite these issues, he maintained a passionate dedication to civil rights activism and the arts, including painting and sculpting, which revealed a complex personality often misunderstood by the media. Quinn's health deteriorated due to throat cancer, leading to his death on June 3, 2001 in Boston at 86. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $20 million, derived from investments in California vineyards and real estate. His legacy is that of a fiercely talented, larger-than-life figure whose personal flaws and scandals only heightened his enigmatic presence. Christopher Plamer, born December 13, 1929 in Toronto, Canada, was 48 years old when he portrayed Herod Antipas in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, delivering a performance drenched in icy cunning and political paranoia. Herod was a man of vanity and insecurity, obsessed with maintaining power and control, and Plamer masterfully embodied these contradictions with a cold, measured elegance. Beyond the screen, Plamer's life was far from the serene dignitary he often played. Raised in a well-off but emotionally distant family, he was pushed into acting as a way to escape personal isolation and the shadow of an abusive father, which left deep scars he rarely disclosed. Known for his sharp intellect and classical training, Plamer's career spanned over 7 decades, earning him the rare triple crown of acting Oscar, Emmy, Tony. Yet his path was turbulent. He had a reputation for being notoriously difficult, frequently clashing with directors and co-stars over creative control and respect, and his disdain for roles he considered trivial led to periods of professional exile. In the late 1980s, whispers of a scandal circulated after a young actress accused him of intimidation and verbal abuse on set, a controversy that never reached the courts but damaged his reputation within Hollywood's elite circles. Plamer was also candid about his struggles with alcohol in his youth, which he credited for near-career derailments and personal turmoil. He fathered 2 children but kept his private life deliberately guarded, fostering rumors of strained relationships and emotional distance. Plamer's death on February 5, 2021 at age 91 was the result of complications from a head injury sustained in a fall at his home. His estate, appraised at roughly $20 million, included valuable properties in Canada, an extensive collection of rare literature and investments in theater productions. His passing marked the end of an era. He left behind a legacy of artistic brilliance, shadowed by the complexities of a man who wielded charm and ruthlessness in equal measure. Raj Stiger, born on April 14, 1925 in West Hampton, New York, was an actor renowned for his intensity and complexity, portraying Pontius Pilate in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, at age 52. His depiction of the conflicted Roman governor, torn between political expediency and moral hesitation, mirrored the turbulence that defined much of Stiger's personal and professional life. Raised in a troubled household marred by physical abuse and emotional neglect, Stiger's early traumas profoundly influenced his acting style, known for its psychological depth and raw emotion. However, this intensity often translated into a volatile and difficult temperament, off-screen, contributing to frequent clashes with directors, producers, and co-stars. His career, though decorated with an Academy Award for In the Heat of the Night, was shadowed by several professional setbacks, most notably a damaging scandal in the late 1970s when he was accused of sexual misconduct, an allegation that, despite lacking full public resolution, severely tarnished his reputation in Hollywood circles and led to unofficial blacklisting from major projects for several years. His personal life was equally tumultuous. Stiger was married 5 times, with each relationship punctuated by public disputes, allegations of infidelity, and emotional volatility. Struggles with depression, alcoholism, and heart problems plagued him for much of his adult life, further complicating his public image. Known for manipulating situations and occasionally using intimidation tactics toward colleagues, Stiger cultivated a reputation as a mercurial figure, brilliant but deeply flawed. He died on July 9, 2002 in Los Angeles at 77 from complications following surgery related to a gallbladder tumor compounded by pneumonia and kidney failure. At his death, his net worth was approximately $8 million, though much of his wealth was diminished by legal fees and medical costs. His legacy remains one of both remarkable artistic achievement and scandalous personal strife, a cautionary tale of Hollywood's unforgiving glare. Tony LoBiano, born October 19, 1936 in Brooklyn, New York, took on the role of Quintilius, a stern Roman official in Jesus of Nazareth, at age 41, bringing to life a character that embodied the cold pragmatism and brutal authority of the empire. His portrayal was layered with skepticism and a flicker of reluctant curiosity, humanizing a figure often seen as merely oppressive. LoBiano's own life off-screen was equally complex and marked by contrasts. Before acting, he was a Golden Gloves boxer, a tough fighter whose physical grit translated into a career often centered on crime dramas and tough guy roles, such as in The French Connection. However, beneath this tough exterior lay a man deeply passionate about Italian-American heritage and politics, frequently engaging in cultural advocacy that sometimes sparked controversy. While never embroiled in Hollywood-style scandals, LoBiano's outspoken nature and uncompromising opinions earned him a reputation as difficult and occasionally abrasive, causing rifts within the industry and political groups alike. His career saw fluctuations, moments of acclaim, punctuated by spells of professional obscurity and financial hardship, forcing him to navigate the precarious balance between art and livelihood. Personal details reveal a life touched by strained relationships and occasional alienation from family and colleagues, though these stories never reached public scandal. He remained married multiple times with no widely reported high-profile divorces, but rumors of conflict and estrangement that colored his private life. His death on June 11, 2024 from prostate cancer at age 87 marked the end of a resilient and fiercely authentic journey. LoBiano left behind a diversified estate valued at roughly $4 million, including real estate assets and ongoing royalties from a long, if uneven, career on stage and screen. His legacy is that of a rugged individualist, a man who wrestled with authority both on and off camera, whose life was shaped by the grit of his origins and the complexities of navigating Hollywood as a proud cultural advocate. James Farentino was born on February 24, 1938, in the gritty borough of Brooklyn, New York, where his rough-edged charm first took root before he eventually embodied the volatile and impetuous Simon Peter in the 1977 miniseries Jesus of Nazareth at age 39. Ferrantino's portrayal was riveting. He captured Peter's fiery temperament, his moments of cowardice and doubt, and his ultimate quest for redemption, with a rawness that left audiences unsettled yet deeply moved. Raised in a working-class family marked by instability and emotional distance, Ferrantino's childhood was far from nurturing. Rumors circulate about early brushes with poverty and an alcoholic father whose abuse forced James to internalize pain and mistrust from a young age. Ferrantino's career, which included notable TV series and films, was repeatedly undermined by scandals and erratic behavior. In 1991, his arrest for cocaine possession shocked many, revealing a hidden struggle with substance abuse that plagued him for years. Even more damaging was his 1993 stalking charge against Tina Sinatra, daughter of the legendary Frank Sinatra, which ended in a court-ordered restraining order and effectively blacklisted him from major Hollywood productions. His reputation as difficult to work with was compounded by frequent reports of mood swings and volatility on set, earning him a reputation as a toxic presence among colleagues. His personal life mirrored his professional chaos. Ferrantino was married 3 times with multiple divorces punctuated by public rumors of infidelity and emotional abuse. His relationships were often described as volatile and unstable, with estranged family members and scant close friendships to offer support during his darker years. His later life was further shadowed by serious health issues, including diabetes and cardiopulmonary disease, which worsened after he suffered a broken hip in late 2011. He passed away quietly on January 24, 2012 at age 73, succumbing to complications related to these chronic conditions. At the time of his death, Ferrantino's net worth was modest, estimated around $1.5 million, dwarfed by the excesses and missteps that marked his turbulent journeys with the fiery Simon Peter, forever immortalized as a figure both heroic and tragically flawed. Peter Ustinov, born April 16, 1921 in London, England, was a polymath who brought the role of Herod the Great to life in Jesus of Nazareth, 1977, at the age of 56. His portrayal of the paranoid, cruel, and insecure king who ordered the massacre of the innocents was delivered with theatrical flamboyance and nuanced menace, showcasing Ustinov's ability to blend humor, menace, and pathos in a single character. Despite his public image as a charming intellectual and humanitarian, winning 2 Academy Awards, authoring plays and novels, and serving as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, Ustinov's private life was far from serene. Raised in a culturally rich yet emotionally reserved environment, he struggled with insecurities that manifested in a strong need for control, both in his career and personal relationships. This control often veered into ruthless manipulation behind the scenes, where he used his wit and influence to marginalize rivals and maintain dominance in theatrical and cinematic circles. Though no explosive public scandals marred his career, there were persistent rumors about extramarital affairs and tense family dynamics, with several of his children later distancing themselves from him amid reports of emotional estrangement. His multiple marriages, 3 in total, were marked by periods of both affection and acrimony, suggesting a man as complex in private as in his art. His sophisticated persona often served to mask these darker undertones, with many contemporaries remarking on his intimidating intellect and occasional coldness. Ustinov died on March 28, 2004 in Genolier, Switzerland, at 82 from heart failure. He left behind a net worth estimated at $10 million, including luxurious estates across Europe, and an impressive collection of rare manuscripts and artworks. His legacy is one of artistic brilliance and humanitarian commitment, yet shadowed by the personal costs of his relentless drive and complex character. Fernando Ray, born September 20th of 1917, in A Coruña, Spain, was 60 when he assumed the role of Gaspar, one of the Magi in Jesus of Nazareth. His Gaspar was imbued with quiet dignity, spiritual insight, and a serene philosophical air that contrasted the film's more dramatic characters. Ray's early life was shaped by the harsh realities of the Spanish Civil War, and a childhood marked by financial hardship and political repression, which profoundly influenced his worldview. Though he cultivated an image of a refined and intellectual actor, Ray's life behind the scenes was laced with shadows. He battled a secret gambling addiction that drained his finances and strained his familial bonds, forcing him to navigate the murky underworld of Spain's elite film circles with both charm and manipulation. His career was largely celebrated, especially his collaboration with Luis Buñuel, but it was not without controversy. The dramatic rupture with Buñuel in the late 1980s over creative differences shocked the Spanish cinema world and exposed Ray's fiercely protective nature over his artistic legacy. Ray was also rumored to have employed underhanded tactics to secure coveted roles, alienating peers, but ensuring his dominance in European cinema. Despite avoiding major public scandals, those closest to him spoke of a man battling loneliness and internal conflict, which was often masked by his stoic screen presence. Fernando Ray passed away from bladder cancer on March 9, 1994, at 76 in Madrid. At his death, his estate was modest, approximately $3 million, including a family estate in Galicia and a collection of vintage film posters and memorabilia. Though not as flamboyant as some of his peers, Ray's complex personality and the quiet struggles behind his calm facade reveal a far more intricate and compelling story than his on-screen roles suggested. Ralph Richardson, born on December 19, 1902 in Cheltenham, England, was an indelible figure in British theatre and cinema, taking on the role of Simeon in the 1977 production of Jesus of Nazareth at the age of 75. Simeon, a humble yet profoundly insightful elder who recognizes Jesus as the Messiah during the temple presentation, became a vessel for Richardson's trademark ethereal and poetic style, imbuing the character with a spiritual depth and gentle gravitas that resonated deeply with audiences. Despite this celebrated image, Richardson's private life was far more complex and shadowed by bouts of intense insecurity and emotional reticence, especially during his formative years. Raised in a relatively well-off but emotionally distant family, Richardson often struggled with the weight of expectations and his own introverted nature, which fueled both his fascination with characters of profound inner conflict and his reputation for eccentricity. In the theater world, he was revered, but also notorious for his stubborn independence and a tendency to flout convention, famously continuing to ride motorcycles well into his 70s, an unusual defiance of age and societal norms that mystified colleagues and fans alike. Behind the stage whispers of Richardson's bouts with depression and his complicated relationships with fellow actors occasionally surfaced, suggesting a man grappling with personal demons as much as with his art. He was also known to have a rather whimsical attitude towards fame and wealth, often refusing more lucrative roles to maintain his artistic integrity, which limited his commercial success despite widespread acclaim. He passed away on October 10, 1983, at 80 years old after a prolonged battle with Parkinson's disease. His estate, valued at roughly $5 million, included several prized theatrical properties, rare art and manuscripts reflecting a man who invested deeply in culture and legacy, rather than material accumulation, leaving behind an enduring influence on British acting and cinema. Thank you for watching as we reflected on the lives and legacies of the actors from Jesus of Nazareth who are no longer with us. Their humor, charm, and unforgettable performances brought joy to millions and helped shape the show into a classic. While their journeys ended far too soon, their impact lives on through every scene, every laugh, and every memory they've left behind. As we honor their lives, we're reminded of how deeply television can touch our hearts. Join us next time as we look back at more stars who left us too soon, but whose stories continue to shine.